They started calling me the thrift store girl. When I was 12, it wasn't said with cruelty at first. It was a joke my older sister made one afternoon when I came home with a denim jacket that smelled faintly of lavender detergent and someone else's life. My mom laughed. My dad repeated it at dinner. It stuck. Over time, it stopped being a joke. It became expectation. If something broke, I'd fix it. If something cost too much, I'd go without. If someone needed help, I'd give it quietly. I learned how to make myself smaller in ways that didn't look like shrinking, more like simplifying. Less need, less noise, less disappointment. My sister, Claire, was the opposite. Bright, loud, certain. Things happened for her, or around her. My parents moved with her gravity, I moved around the edges. No one ever said I had less value. They just behaved like I required less. And for a long time I agreed. I left home early. Not dramatically. No fight. No slam doors. Just a job in another city, a small apartment, and fewer phone calls than anyone noticed. I learned things on my own. How money works when no one is watching, how time compounds if you let it, how quiet decisions stack into something solid. I didn't talk about it. Not out of secrecy, just habit. They never asked. Years passed like that. Occasional holidays, brief visits. Claire's milestones always louder than mine. New house, new car, new problems that required collective attention. I brought modest gifts, wore simple clothes. Let them keep their version of me. It was easier. Easter was at my parents' house that year. Same table. Same dishes. Same comments that hovered between affection and dismissal. Claire arrived late. Already mid-conversation about something stressful, money, I think. There was always something. I remember standing in the kitchen, rinsing a glass. When she walked in holding my phone. "You left this unlocked," she said, like she'd caught me in something careless. I dried my hands slowly. "Kay." She turned the screen toward me, but her eyes weren't on me, they were searching, calculating. "What is this?" It was my investment account. I must have opened it earlier, checking something, and forgotten to close it. There wasn't anything flashy about it. Just numbers. Clean, quiet numbers. But they weren't small. I felt something shift, not panic, not even fear. Just inevitability. Like a door I'd kept closed had finally opened, and now we all had to stand in the same room. "It's my account," I said. She blinked, then laughed, but it didn't sound like humor. 9 million. The word hung there. My mom stopped talking in the other room. My dad's chair scraped faintly. Claire's voice changed first. "Since when?" "A while. A while." She repeated, sharper now. "You've just been sitting on this." I didn't answer immediately. Not because I didn't have one. But because I could feel the old instinct rising, to soften it, to explain, to make it easier for them to process. But something in me stayed still. "It's mine," I said again. That's when the room filled. My mom came in, drying her hands on a towel. My dad hovered near the doorway. The air felt different. Thicker, but focused. Claire didn't look at them. She kept her eyes on me. "You know what I'm dealing with right now," she said. "You've heard me. This could fix everything." There it was. Not a question. A reallocation. My mom stepped closer. She said gently, "Family helps family." I almost smiled at how familiar that sounded. How many times I'd lived inside that sentence. I set the glass down. For a moment, I considered explaining. The years. The choices. The discipline. The loneliness that sometimes came with building something no one saw. But I realized something quietly important. They weren't asking about any of that. They were asking for access. Claire crossed her arms. "You don't even need that much." That was the sentence that did it. Not because it was cruel. It wasn't. It was consistent. It confirmed that nothing about me had changed for them. Only the numbers had, and suddenly. The gap between who I had been in this house and who I was now felt too wide to bridge with words. I started laughing. I didn't mean to. It just came out. Soft at first, then fuller. Not sharp or mocking. Just disbelief finally finding a sound. They stared at me like I'd broken some unspoken rule. "You think this is funny?" Claire said. I wiped my eyes, still smiling faintly. "A little." My dad frowned. "This is serious." "I know," I said, and I did. That's why I reached for my bag. Claire's voice followed. "Me? So that's it." You're paused at the door, my hand resting on the handle. For a second, I felt that old pull, the reflex to turn back, to smooth it over, to offer something just to restore balance. But there was no balance to restore. Not anymore. I'm not walking away, I said quietly. I just don't belong in this version of things. My mom's voice softened, almost pleading. We're your family. I nodded. You are. I opened the door. Behind me, the room filled with overlapping voices, confusion, frustration. Something close to anger. But it sounded distant already, like noise from another place. There was no dramatic silence, no apology, no sudden understanding. Just a boundary, finally holding. I stepped outside and closed the door gently, but firmly enough that it didn't drift open again. The air felt lighter than I expected. Not victorious. Not relieved. Just clear. For the first time, I didn't feel like the thrift store girl. And I didn't feel the need to prove anything else.